We are very delighted and proud to welcome you today for our first in-person conference since 2018, so we deserve a round of applause. And to start us off with our conversations, I would like to introduce the keynote speaker, Professor Soniette Fisiha. She is globally recognized as a leader in reproductive health and rights. As an attorney and physician, her ability to bring the advocacy, practitioner, and policymaking communities together has fundamentally shifted global conversations around access to reproductive and maternal health services. She currently serves as a director of global programs at the Susan Thompson Buffett Foundation, as well as chief advisor for the Director General of the World Health Organization. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Professor Soniette.
The term philanthropy finds its roots in the Greek language, meaning love of mankind, and anyone engaged in charitable giving of any amount and form is engaged in compassion to fellow human beings. And for that, I salute each person in this room participating directly or indirectly to uplift someone other than themselves. We are each other's keepers, and the structures and spaces that we create to incubate and resource sustainable work will transform our continent and its people. So thank you for putting this event together and envisioning a bold future for Africa. When I was asked to share a few words on what African philanthropists can do to close the gender gap, I had several thoughts, all of them rooted in my core belief that the best way we can address the gender inequality is to build systems that withstand the gravitational pull of existing practices that flow from well-established patriarchal systems. This is because the gender gap is a manifestation of inequities that are deeply ingrained, consciously and unconsciously, in the systems that we currently have serving various social, political, and economic needs. According to the 2022 Global Gender Gap Report, it will take 132 years to close the gender gap globally. We are facing severe threats of sliding back and losing the hard-won gains of the last few decades.
When we were deliberating as a board on what theme we needed to select for this year's conference, the obvious answer was gender. And the reason is the following: 142 years. That's the length of time it will take to reach gender parity in Africa at this current pace. I was going to say 132 years, but I decided to factor in the unfactored and elevate it to 142. 316 billion is the amount of money that would be added to Africa's GDP if each country advanced women's equality to match the most progressive of countries. Gender inequality means that women who do 75% of unpaid work are not only recognized, but take their place on the world stage. It means the gender equality that we see is represented by 6% of CEOs being women. Women also hold globally 26% of parliamentary seats in the world. These are glaring facts and statistics that should cause us to wake up and really create a sense of urgency in all of us so that we can accelerate the progress that is urgently required to achieve gender parity. I must commend the efforts that has been made by the advocates, the activists, movements, and leaders, the ground in which women work, especially activists and those who are leading and part of movements, is very difficult and extremely challenging. So thank you for willing to take the fight for gender justice and for sinking in to do the work over many years. The strides you have made and the efforts you have made are gaining much recognition. But we need more women in the front line of this fight. More young women driven to become politicians, like women like Lindiwe Mazibuko. We have seen her use her voice exceptionally well. We need exceptional skills where we take our seat at important platforms to drive and influence decisions. We've seen women like Vera Songwe use her voice in a most admirable and effective way. We need stronger storytelling at all levels. And at this, I would love to point out Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie as an example of effective and powerful storytelling. There are many, many, many names that we could mention. Rwanda is ranked 6th in the world on the Global Gender Gap Index. Rwanda has made significant progress in closing the gender gap with the highest number of women parliamentarians in the world, a gender-balanced government, and enshrined equal rights for men and women into law. I want to commend you, sir, for your vision and the effort and the passion that you have invested in to take Rwanda and influence the rest of the globe. Your Excellencies, thank you so much for uplifting women and girls, not just in Rwanda, but nations across the continent and globally, who learned so much from your leadership to create that world, that ideal world we want to see of gender, a gender equal world. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to the stage His Excellency Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic of Rwanda.
So I'm pleased to join you today for the opening of the 2022 Africa Philanthropy Forum Conference. And I'm happy to welcome you to Rwanda. First, let me commend Tsitsi Masiyiwa and the entire Africa Philanthropy Forum leadership and team. Over the years, you have succeeded in building a platform that brings together philanthropists from all walks of life to collaborate and develop homegrown solutions for our continent. I therefore have no doubt that this is only the beginning of a very bright future. In recent decades, significant progress has been made to close the gender gap. Still, women and girls remain vulnerable. Even for all the rankings that were referred to about Rwanda, indeed, there is a lot more to do than we have actually done. And I wish to express my full support for the Africa Gender Initiative. This is an innovative way to bring together philanthropic actors to pool resources and make an impact on gender inequalities. Discrimination against women and girls is fueled by distorted mindsets that perceive women as inferior to men. To begin with, men must reject and reverse this. Now, even women, they must refuse that. They must say they are not inferior. Yet, African women hold important leadership positions and they are active agents of change. There is no need to reinvent the wheel. And every day, just in our own settings here in Rwanda, we have reminded ourselves and we remind each other, and every day we tell our women, our girls, that they should build on the opportunities that are available in our system, putting some provisions in the system is not enough alone. We have many women, in fact, they outnumber men in the parliament. We have gender parity in the cabinet. We have, by all kinds of mechanisms, tried to raise women standing and positions in the places of responsibility. But that's not enough. That's never enough until the people themselves will actually take that responsibility and use it and do the very things that can help us to reverse that kind of situation. I therefore encourage all of us to build on this strong foundation, whether here or elsewhere, as there are many trying to carry out these kinds of efforts, and create more just and inclusive societies. For example, innovative philanthropy is, as we have it here in Rwanda, I want to share with you, is unconditional cash transfers we have here. In Rwanda, we have been working with Give Directly since 2016 to test and target this mechanism with vulnerable households with good results we have registered. We are now looking at how to scale the model up. Beneficiaries receive one-time cash transfer and decide for themselves how to spend the funds with no strings attached. Of course, here there has been a debate. The traditional way of supporting these vulnerable groups is give them something, decide where they put it, and how they use it. Well, some cases you succeed. Maybe out of 10, 3 benefit. And with this way of giving cash to people and they decide what to do with it and so on and so forth, people are arguing that this is just throwing away money. And we are saying, no, we have to accompany that. And I think Dr. Senate said it earlier, government systems and working with this group, we just wanted to encourage people and we have a discussion with them before they are given money, but not telling them where to put their money. Well, we advise them where not to put their money. At least we tell, and mostly these are men, when they get money, they should not just go spend it in a bus after receiving it, but rather, this is all we advise them. And I can assure you that the experience is maybe out of 10, 7 or 8 actually benefit, and you see the transformation beginning to take place. So now, if the question was, where do you lose more than the other, it is very obvious. You lose more by trying to keep hand-holding everybody and telling them how to spend that money, what they spend it on, and everything else they do. And I think there is more to lose there than when you give this money to people and they decide how to use it. And especially, a couple of things happen. One, from the beginning, they know this is the money in their hands. If they waste it, they are likely not to get any more money coming their way. Second, something more important is that they feel responsible. They feel they have been given responsibility for managing their own lives and transforming that. So there is nothing better than assisting somebody, but also giving them that sense of responsibility for themselves. We've seen it work. And in fact, this is what happens in the case that I mentioned earlier. We also keep having a conversation with women and girls in this effort of trying to create a gender balance and equality, that once they have this in their hands, they are in places of responsibility, they should actually use it. You can't be a minister or a member of parliament and you're head of one of these companies or the other, and you waste that opportunity. You pull yourself up, and your fellow women, because it is going to be a struggle and a process to create that equality that we always seek to achieve. So this contributes to a more balanced and sustainable philanthropic relationship, because everyone has the right to choose the best way to better their lives, as I said earlier, when they are given this money. But this mirrors the challenge before us as a continent, as a world, as well. It's not just here in Rwanda. It is similar to other places. What may work here will work in other places, or what has worked in other places that we have established, most likely we apply it and we succeed. So we learn from best practices. Increasing philanthropic initiatives by African individuals and organizations is critically important, but not only because of money. It is about having the dignity as Africans to choose for ourselves the future we want and work diligently towards it together. Philanthropy, which was well properly defined and involves giving, I want to assure you, giving actually also means receiving, especially with good results of what you have given toward. If you've given people what you think will change or help transform their lives, and you see it succeed, and you see it changing lives, I mean, you should be receiving satisfaction in this case that what you did was worth all the effort and all the money you put into it. That's why we make sure that, and must make sure that what we give really has these returns in terms of changing people's lives. That satisfaction is going to be more than even the money we spend. Once again, welcome to our country, Rwanda, your country, if you choose so. I wish you a joyful stay in our country and a productive conference. Thank you so much for your kind attention.